Hello world, this is Daniel from Wordsworth Academy, and today I'm going to be talking about Diablo 3, Reaper of Souls, and the Crusader class just a bit. So the Crusader is a holy warrior. He's got a mixture of melee and ranged attacks, and you can see right there that's his shield bash ability that allows you to charge into combat and do significant damage. You can see he also has a personal ion cannon you can call down. That's the Heaven's Fury ability. And I like to spam that on enemies after I get them in a nice little group here. My shield in this footage actually gives it a lower cooldown. I think it has a 20-second cooldown by default. That's Condemn. That allows you to pull enemies toward you and then do some damage to them. And right here you're going to see a nice shield glare plus shield bash combo. Essentially, shield glare will blind enemies and make it so they don't really move or attack. And then it also, I have a rune attached to it that makes it so they take more damage. And then it essentially allows you, it sets it up nicely for that shield bash to hit all of them. So overall, the Paladin is pretty fun. Again, nice mixture of both melee and ranged abilities. His resource mechanic is called Wrath, and essentially it just builds up as you use your basic attack, your left click. In this case, I'm using Punish, which gives me a slight boost to my blocking. And then most of your abilities will use Wrath or will have a significant cooldown, and that's sort of how the different mechanics are balanced. And like the other characters in Diablo 3, the Crusader definitely you can do a fair number of different strategies. I really like sword and board, and so you can see that's what this gameplay footage is showing. I think you can also do two-handed attacks. There are a few things that we use that, and also just in general sort of laser beam range attacks as well. Some of the resource generators are also ranged. Again, I chose to use one of the melee ones because that's just sort of how I like to play. That's just how I like to play the game. Overall, I really enjoyed playing the Crusader. I played through. I'm in the mid 50s, I think 54 or 53, and I played through the whole regular game as well as Reaper of Souls. I was a little bit disappointed with the length of Reaper of Souls. It felt like, I rushed through the whole content in just a couple hours, really, or most of the new content in just a couple hours in terms of the standard game. There's also this new mode, which I'm not sure if it came specifically with Reaper of Souls or it's just been one of the updates for Diablo since then. It allows you to do adventure mode, which essentially tells you to go complete a small portion of the game and then gives you a bunch of golden experience if you do. And so that just gives you a way to, rather than just keep running the same boss over and over again, because that boss has whatever better loot, grats me by the way, instead of just running the same boss over and over again, it gives you an incentive to go do different parts of the game. You can see here I've swapped out my ion cannon for instead Fist of the Heavens, which puts these little lightning bolts on the ground and is another good AoE. One of the combos that I like with the character is to do Condemn to pull enemies toward me with Condemn with Vacuum, and then to have some AoE that hits all of them. And that's a lot of fun. But yeah, so as far as the expansion itself, I was a little disappointed with the length, and I thought the enemy design wasn't really very creative, but I did very much like several of the new zones, particularly this one, which is the Westmarch Commons, and also the Battlefields of Eternity, which was the one I was fighting on a minute ago. I think particularly Westmarch is interesting because you have a lot of these corridors, and most of the previous areas of the game you have sort of a lot of room to work with, whereas Westmarch, it's very constrained. I think that makes it feel just a little bit different. Here I've swapped out my shield bash rune for the new one at 53 called Pound, which essentially means instead of hitting in a cone, the shield bash now just hits one guy for a lot of damage instead. And so that's pretty good for bosses, I found, and just sort of changes the feel of it a little bit. You can see there's a little link between the two Fist of the Heavens. So good times in there. And I think that's probably one of the most fun things about the game too, is you have some sort of idea in your head for like a build or a cool combo that will be fun to use, and you get to just, you get to try it out. And the nice thing about Diablo 3 and Reaper of Souls is that it doesn't matter. Essentially, as soon as you get out of combat, you can swap your skills around as much as you like. And so if you try something and it ends up not being effective, you don't have to, re-roll your character like in Diablo 2 or other games sometimes. Another thing that I sort of found that was sort of neat was the new transmogrification system. This is pulled straight from World of Warcraft. And so essentially it just allows you to change an item to make it look like some other item. And so in this case, I have this boring looking club, and I've changed it to look like a pretty awesome, badass fire sword. And I've also dyed all my armor gold because, you know, fashion. So yeah, that's overall. I thought the expansion is pretty good. I think there have been a lot of improvements to Diablo 3, and again, I'm not sure exactly which ones came just with the expansion, which ones have been patches. I'm glad that the auction house is gone. I thought it was, I didn't like it. I thought it made it so that the itemization of the game was pretty poor, but overall, I think I had fun. The price tag was a little high, but you know, I think that's just, if you really like Diablo 3, I think you'll like Reaper of Souls, and if you're excited about the Crusader class like I am, then I think it'll be good times. So anyway, and that's about it.